Hi, welcome back to Cinema Synopsis. Today I'm going to be explaining a science fiction action movie called The Maze Runner. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie starts with Thomas, dazed and confused, going up an elevator. When he gets to the top, he sees a bunch of boys watching him. Thomas takes off running, but trips and realizes he's surrounded by huge walls. The leader of the group, Albany, and his number 2, Newt, explain the situation to Thomas. Once a month, the elevator, or the box as they call it, comes to the surface with supplies as well as a new boy. They all live in the glade and call themselves gladiators. None of them can remember anything, but after a few days, their names come back to them. Each boy is given a different job. Some are builders, some are runners. A door opens in the giant wall every day and closes every night. The door leads to a maze that surrounds the glade. Runners go through looking for a way out. If anyone gets trapped in the maze overnight, the grievers get them and you die. Newt tells Thomas that the maze changes every night. Albany was the first boy to arrive in the glade. No one knows why they're there. Thomas starts to form a friendship with the kid who came up the month before. He's one of the youngest of the group. His name is Chuck. That night there's a celebration for Thomas. Gally is wrestling one of the other boys and asks Thomas if he wants to go. They end up sparring, and when Thomas hits his head on the ground, he suddenly remembers his name. That night Thomas has a dream. It's full of fleeting images, but a woman says, "Wicked is good." Albany takes Thomas around to show him more of the sights. The boys carve their names on the wall when they arrive. When one dies, they cross off the name. Thomas tries to fit in and is given the task to go dig up fertilizer from the woods. While he's there, he was attacked by Ben, one of the runners who was stung by a griever. While they fight, Ben says to Thomas, "This is all your fault. I saw you." That boy has what they call the changing. A sting will apparently cause tremendous pain and make you prone to violence. There's no cure for it, so they force the boy into the maze at night, just as the doors are closing. Everyone is concerned that there's a griever attack during the day. That night, Thomas has another dream. It's more of the lady assuring him that Wicked is good, but now he also remembers himself and a girl about the same age, sitting across from each other at the workstations going over diagnostics. The next day, Albany goes into the maze to retrace Ben's path and find out what happened. It's getting late and Albany still hasn't returned. All the boys gather around the entrance of the maze. Just as the doors are about to close, the lead runner Minho appears with a very injured Albany. Thomas rushes into the maze to help them, but the door closes behind him. Minho and Thomas use vines to suspend Albany's body and try to keep him safe from the grievers. Albany was stung while inside the maze. One of the griever appears and chases after Thomas. The grievers look like gigantic monster cyborgs and appear very violent. Thomas and the griever run around a bit as the walls in the maze change. After much running, Thomas is able to lure the griever between two walls and kill it. Minho and Thomas are then free to escape to safety. The next day, Gally calls for a meeting of the gladiators. Most of them are excited that Thomas killed a griever. There's another group though, led by Gally, who feel that the rules they have put there were put in place to keep everyone safe. And ever since Thomas arrived, things have changed, like grievers attacking during the day. The elevator arrives unexpectedly and the boys run out to check what the elevator has brought. Inside there are no supplies, only a girl. She looks up and says Thomas before passing out. In her hand is a note that reads, "She's the last one ever." Gally calls for Thomas to be punished because non-runners are not allowed in the maze. He doesn't like the fact that the girl knew who Thomas was. He's scared that the elevator hasn't gone back down since they took out the girl. Newt says Thomas can be locked up overnight without any food, and starting tomorrow, he's a runner. Gally is mad at this decision. A bunch of the boys go back into the maze to look at the carcass of the griever, which upsets Gally. Inside the griever, they find a weird device that has an electronic display reading the number 7. The device is also marked WCKD. Boys realize that whoever sends them supplies also made the grievers. Minho shows Thomas a map of the maze. There are different outer sections that open up each day as the maze changes. Each outer section is numbered. Last night, section 7 was open. The girl is awake. She's at the top of the tower throwing stuff at the boys on the ground. Thomas yells up to her that it's him. She agrees to let him come up. He explains that her memory was wiped, but in a few days she'll remember her name. She says she already remembers her name. It's Teresa. She also remembers Thomas too. He tells her that he says he's had dreams about her and a lady saying that Wicked is good. When Teresa woke up, she found 2 syringes in her pocket. That night, Thomas deals the punishment of being locked up. Chuck visits him and brings him some food. He also asks Thomas to give his parents a little carved statue that Chuck made. Even though he doesn't remember his parents, he's sure his parents remember him and miss him. Thomas gives the carving back to Chuck, telling him that he'll be able to give it to his parents himself. The next morning, Thomas and Minho go into the maze along with the device they got from the griever. The device ends up making clicking noises and guides them to a new section Minho has never seen before. Minho is also concerned that all the outer sections of the maze seem to be opened. They get to a wide open area marked WCKD loading dock that ends up in a dead end, but the device turns from green to red and opens a new path. The device leads to what looks like some kind of sewer tunnel. The edges of the tunnel have the same slime that the grievers have, so they go back to the glade. Thomas decides to use one of the syringes on the dying Albany, and it ends up making him better. When Albany is finally able to talk, he tells Thomas that you were their favorite. As he is is saying this, all the doors to the maze begin to open and pour out a bunch of grievers. There is a giant griever attack that wipes out a bunch of the boys and destroys much of their village. Albany is among the dead. Chuck is heroically saved after being grabbed by one of the grievers. They end up hacking the griever's tail off. After the attack, Thomas realizes that the venom from the griever's sting helps the victim remember, so he takes the hacked off tail and stings himself. He remembers a little bit more. The maze isn't a prison, it's a test. He sees all of the other boys in incubation tubes. A lot of them are in panic. He also sees himself as a scientist along with Teresa. The gladiators use the second syringe and Thomas is cured and confessed to everyone that he's one of the people responsible for everyone being there. Gally is furious and he and his group tied Thomas and Teresa to stakes outside the entrance of the maze as an offering. But half the group is still with Thomas, so they free him. Now the gladiators are divided. Thomas tells Gally that he would rather die trying to escape than die in the glade not trying. Thomas takes a group into the maze. They get to the loading dock area from before and are attacked by a bunch of grievers. They go through the sewer tunnel type area and it leads to a locked door. Teresa needs a numerical code to get through. They realize the code must be the sequence in which the maze would normally open. She types it in and everyone goes through the door. Walls crush all the grievers behind them. The kids walk through some hallways until they find a door marked exit. They go through and they're inside the lab from Thomas's dreams and memories. All the scientists are dead and a video starts to play. The woman from earlier identifies herself as Ava Page and tells the kids that they don't remember this, but there was a global devastation by something called the Flare. She was part of a controversial group called the World Catastrophe Kill Zone Department, aka WCKD. They believed that in testing the kids, they can monitor their brains and find a cure. While she speaks, a group of soldiers behind her rush in and start killing the other scientists. She tells them that she's happy that they passed their first test and reminds them that Wicked is good. A door opens leading outside, but before anyone can leave, Gally shows up. He has a gun. He goes to shoot Thomas, but Chuck jumps in front of the bullet, and Gally gets stabbed in the chest. Chuck hands the statue he made to Thomas and dies. A group of soldiers that look like the one in the video rushes in and takes the kids outside to helicopters. At first it looks like they're in the desert, but we pull out to reveal they're outside what used to be a city. Buildings are destroyed and everything is covered in sand. In the helicopter they see what the full maze and glade look like. Paige, who is alive and wiping off blood from her head, says the kids have taken the bait. More kids have survived than she anticipated. The maze was to her a success. The Maze Runner has a 65% on the tomato meter and a 68% on the audience score. The critics' consensus is that with strong acting and a solid premise, and a refreshingly dark approach to its dystopian setting, The Maze Runner stands out from the crowded field of YA sci-fi adventures. One critic says that this movie is smarter than most, thematically interesting, and unique enough to make it stand out in a crowded landscape. A top critic from The Dissolve says, "The Maze Runner story only really works if the viewers live in the moment and react to the characters' immediate and intense fears and trials, rather than analyzing the situation that produced them." A top critic from The New Yorker says, "It's all familiar territory, but it's revealed with flair." While another critic says that logic and any adherence to common sense falls to the wayside. The budget for The Maze Runner was $34 million, while making $348 million at the box office. I would personally give this movie an 8 out of 10, with it keeping suspense high and having solid visuals. This movie is based off the book of The Maze Runner and is part 1 of a 3-part movie series. Comment below what movies I should do next. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Until next time.